Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video I'm going to be going over Lori Grimes, who obviously is the Atlanta Mythic Trials character. I know a lot of people have got their hands on her recently just because the Atlanta Mythic Trials has come back around. Myself, I got her at Limit Break 2, I do like her a lot. And I'm just going to be doing a little starter guide here for this character. Now, if you want to see my breakdown of this character, you can check it out. But do realize that my breakdown, I believe, was when it was grade 5 was the max a character could be. You should be able to see that in the top right-hand corner. But we've got a guide here. And we're going to be first going towards her skills. And I would definitely say, within brutal shots, you can spend some military supplies here. Definitely worth topping that out. Although I don't think her rush is where her main power is. It is extremely powerful to get 100% damage boost on the 2 basic attacks, and that obviously is going to be a 200% total boost. Now, her signature move requires no military supply upgrades, and this is where a lot of her power is. Keep your fingers crossed that this is where the Limit Break 3 upgrade comes in, because this is where she obviously does the most of her damage and where she can be extremely powerful. And this is how I'm going to be building her, trying to get the best out of the signature move as possible to get your fight to start as well as possible. Now, when it comes to Lori's passives, they are all good. They are all good. Guard Break would specifically be, in my opinion, for teams with Barker lead, but it will work against Ezekiel teams as well, because obviously you've got 60% chance to resist attack down. This has become more and more powerful because there are more and more characters that actually do attack down. Agility will increase the power of her basic attacks. Signature move rush, definitely upgrade agility 1 and agility 2. Final bullet is really powerful, really powerful, especially in combination with the right weapon. You can get a weapon that gives her an attack boost for characters over 50% HP, and final bullet will give her an attack boost for people under it, so she'll always get an attack boost because of that. And let's say her rush goes off and the first hit is on someone at max HP and the second hit is at someone at 30% HP. She's going to do amplified damage either way, which is obviously really good. And that goes up to 50% bonus attack for anyone over 50% HP if you did get her to Limit Break 2. So definitely worth upgrading there. Frightening Violence is probably her most important one, but you need to take down a target for this to actually happen. So obviously amplifying her damage with agility and final bullet is going to make Frightening Violence actually more likely to happen. It means that all enemies will get minus 20% defense for 2 turns if she takes out a character, and she can do that with her signature move easily. Now, if she is coming up against Barker teams, this is going to be really powerful, but against certain teams, for instance Tara teams and Ezekiel teams, they have defense down resist on the first turn, so you've got to take into consideration Ezekiel teams obviously have it for quite a bit longer. So I would say definitely upgrade all of these. Guard Breaker is probably the least important, but if you do intend to use this character against Barker teams, this is extremely important. However, it is definitely worth noting you can get an attack down resist mod on her instead and go higher than that 60%. They do not stack, they do not multiply. Whichever one is highest is the one that it would take the resist off. But I would say 60% attack down resist is still pretty decent, and you can obviously build her kit. We're going to build it very offensively. We're only going to go with 1 resist, and we're going to go with crit set because that gives you the highest targeted damage. You know, single target damage is amplified the most with crit set. If you go with attack set, other things come into play. For instance, if she has a splash damage weapon, you know, that sort of thing. But we want to make her targeted single target damage as high as possible. And for that, we need her to crit as much as possible. And when she crits as much as possible, she's going to want her to get the biggest amount of damage. And crit set is the way to go. Give her a big, nice, juicy attack on crit set mod. I have got a very nice one here. I've basically used this on my primo character within crit set. I do have a couple of others like 21, 20. Anything over 20 looks nice, but it also is very powerful, so definitely go for that. Now, depending on what teams you're going to be using Lori against, we are getting a little bit more access to, you know, a few different damage dealers now, so you can start preparing different attack teams for different defense teams, and there are like 2 or 3 defense teams that I see quite regularly. And if you want to prepare Lori, let's say for a Barker team, you could double down for the damage that she's going to do. Just find the highest percentage, and basically that means she's going to heavy nuke a strong character, because she's an alert character, much easier, and then you've got more chance of that defense down actually going up against those Barker teams, which is going to be very useful. Or you could go the other side and go for attack versus tough, which is also on Barker teams, if you want to just sort of balance her attack overall. You could potentially go for both, but she will need crit, in my opinion, on her kit. But you can test it out to see how rarely she gets crit. Honestly, it wouldn't be a terrible thing to go in the wildcard slots. I do that on my Lydia, even without her having 100% crit weapon, and she crits a lot. In the bottom right hand corner, you've got to work out what is the resist that you're going to come up against the most. Who is the leader you're going to also use when you attack with Lori? If you're using a leader like Negan, you do not need taunt resist, and you do not need confuse resist as much, so you can switch it up and go for a different resist if you so wish. Now you could go with stun resist. Stun resist is going to be good because against those strong teams, they have got characters that can hit stuns. Or you could go with main resist. We are seeing a few more main characters come into the game doing main damage. This is going to be problematic, but it will not be that useful in the early parts of the fight. It will be once rushes go off, and realistically the teams that you're going to build Lori around are going to be heavy, like quick nuke teams, and that means the reactionary mods like this aren't going to be as needed. But there could also always be a sneaky governor in the defense team, you never know. However, I'm going to go against something I've already said, which is I'm going to go with confuse resist, and this is because even if I am going to be using Negan lead, I know there are a lot of characters right now that remove focus, and a lot of those are strong and tough. So the likeliness of running into someone who removes focus from her is very high, and there is also a very vital character, especially for Barker teams, with Mirabelle. She gets massive buffs on Barker teams, and she's going to get more buffs in the future because of Andre. I've tested it out a bit, and it can get crazy. And yeah, so the likeliness of Lori being targeted by Mirabelle's Confuse is quite high, because generally it goes for your heavier damage dealers. So I'm going to go with Confuse Resist here, and then it moves on to the bottom left hand corner. There's a couple of options you've got here. You could do attack while taunted and then rely on your focus staying up. You do have corner potential on Barker teams. This is a definite thing. Or you could try and just boost her targeted damage, and there's only one real way of doing that at the moment, and that would be with a crit damage multiplier mod. Fortunately, I actually have one of these, and these are very, very nice. You don't have to go for crit in the middle slot. I have got pretty much the same setup on my Lydia, where I don't go with crit. Even though she doesn't have 100% crit on one of the builds that I have with her, she still crits so often, and as long as you have enough 1535s around her, it shouldn't be a problem. So that's why in this final slot, I'm going to go with the other attack versus. It's kind of a toss-up otherwise between attack versus strong and just trying to nuke strong characters and at least being able to get a bit of a boost against tough characters. But I'm going to double down. I'm going to do just complete team counter with Lori. And this is how I think at least one of your damage dealers should be set up if you're building specialized teams with a specialized damage dealer in it. We've got enough access to enough damage dealers. Damage dealers are not the problem for free to play and accessibility. A lot of the problem comes with support characters and the kind of characters that you can take in next to these damage dealers. So specialized damage dealers is the best way to get the most out of their damage, of course. So with that all locked in, you can see I now have just over 33,000 attack. This is with my full level up, 680. Full lieutenants currently 645. These are going to obviously be boosted in the coming months, where a limit break 3 is going to come in. That means the lieutenant system is going to get a boost potentially quite high, over probably 750, 800 eventually, because of inner circle. And then the base level will also be improved as well, probably over 700 or up to 700 with the introduction of limit break 3 and no doubt gold medals. The higher her level gets, which is now 1325, the more her attack stat will get boosted by the attack on crit set mod. You guys know how it works. Now lastly on her main kit is the weapon of Lori, and she does not have an attached weapon. This means you can put whatever weapon you want in her hands, and I see there's mainly two ways to go, where it will be splash damage weapon. I do see some of these weapons. I've got one myself where it has attack, AP on attack, splash, and 1535. And that would be one of these beauties right here. Lots of damage output potential. But if you are going to go with a splash damage weapon and you actually want the splash to do, more damage, crit set isn't going to help you there. You want to maybe go with attack set to get a higher attack stat. But because this is complete RNG, like 30% of the time this is going to happen, I mainly see this as a bonus and would stick with crit set to still have good targeted damage. And then the splash damage is more going to remove guardian shields, this sort of thing. And that's where splash damage can be very useful. However, the weapon I would use on her would be a weapon like this. Attack in the first slot, huge bonus to AP when attacking, bonus attack, 45% attack when attacking enemies of more than 50% HP, and in the last slot, 1535. This is going to give her the best attack output. It's also going to give her that either side of 50% HP of the enemy bonus, where she gets less than 50% HP on her passives and over 50% HP on her weapon. She's always going to have amplified damage. This weapon's going to make the difference, especially on that first turn signature move, because it's only, I believe, like 200%. As much as it does do 2 attacks, you still want it to do as much damage as possible, and this is where this is going to come into play. The first hit could potentially bring them under 50% HP, or it could one-shot them if it is a certain, not like a great built character, or you do hit a big crit with all the multipliers that we built in the mods. But if you don't, the second one will be able to take advantage of the passive bonus. So really nice combo with the weapon and her passives. Okay, so now we're going to attack a couple of teams, and this is the sort of starting block of the team I'm going to build. Negan Lead is going to help with Confuse and Taunt, but we've also got Carol and Lori Grimes. The combo between those two characters is great. Carol does boost damage. Lori is obviously going to do defense down if she takes someone out, and then Carol can take advantage of that with her kit to cleanse any potential nasty stuff that's going on. The combo between these three is great because just there's a lot of protection and boost basically. Now the last two characters that I like to go with are going to be strong. And the reason I do this is because we can boost the damage even more if we do have a stronger attacks weapon. So I'm going to limit my roster to just strong characters, and we're going to decide which strong characters we're going to go with. We could go with a Disarm if you're coming up against quite a heavily, windowed team. It's going to be a problematic defense team, but Barker defense teams maybe aren't going to have that issue, and also it's not going to stop you from doing your first turn signature moves as much, so it isn't going to be as terrible. We could go with Connor to get some control in. That wouldn't actually be a terrible idea. I could nuke a couple of characters, control a couple of characters with Connor, and then just wrap things up near the end. But we'll see. I could go over Command, potentially get that rush off turn 2 on Lori or Carol. Again, could be very, very powerful. Someone who protects me, like Mike. I think I like Mike quite a lot when it comes to this. Guardian Shield's also nice. So someone like Michonne 2000 if you have her. But we could also, if we don't have Michonne 2000, you could also go with someone like Mirabelle. Now do remember that defense down doesn't work on Mirabelle against Ezekiel teams, but it'll be a much more useful against teams with Barker lead. So we will go with Mirabelle just for this test because I know she's a bit more of an accessible character. Now if you do not have Mike, you can theoretically go with Kelly as a silver character. He can still get crazy high defensive stats. A lot of the kit is the same in terms of what he's going to offer. He's just got no takedown potential, whereas if you do level up the right things on Mike, he obviously can do infection. Now the most important part is a weapon with strong attacks on it, and this is going to give Lori and Carol, but mainly Lori in this situation, a bit more attack stat. She's going to get 20% attack buff off of the first turn, and with all the amplifications that she's got in her kit, the weapon where she's going to do 45% more attack, it's going to be really, really nice. Okay, so the first team we're going to come up against is going to be an Ezekiel defense team, which is kind of risky in the way I built Lori, because there can be any kind of character behind an Ezekiel team. It could have just been fast and alerts, and I would have had no damage bonus at all, not from her trait or from her mods. So you've got to be very careful at the teams you actually attack with her. Now, I could attack with her first here, let's say against the bodyguard character, but if I was to take him out, the big issue I would have is no defense down would go on the other characters. This is a big issue, but we're going to try anyway, and we do manage to take him out. And I would honestly say probably fortunately in 2 hits. If we would have one-shot him, we would most likely would have gone on and one-shot Connor here, and then it would stop me from being able to do the same with my Carol. And this is where I'm going to basically keep my fingers crossed that she takes him out and potentially Ezekiel next to him, and and I cleanse the bleed. Let's see what happens. I do manage to take out one, and I do cleanse the bleed. And this is the risky play with a character like Carol, but so far so good. And basically from here it's kind of clean up. And this is where you get the bonuses of someone like Mike. You can see the infections on these two characters. No fast healing, and as long as I control these characters, they will both be taken out. So that's actually pretty big bonus. And I'm just going to pretty much hit auto from here. We do take out him, and then the infections just take out the last. And it didn't seem like Lori did much, but that isn't where she is super powerful. Where Lori is going to come into her own is going to be against Barker defense teams. You did see she did resist the attack down, that Negan hasn't. Negan being a damage dealer has not resisted it. So this is good. The issue you've got on teams like this is very defensive, but also like double bodyguards. This is something that you're seeing quite a lot. But generally focusing one of the bodyguards means that the absorb is going to come in from the other one. And as long as you hit hard enough, you could potentially soften up this bodyguard for someone else to finish off, or you're going to be able to take them out potentially yourself. Let's see what Lori does. She is going to take him out because I see the infection already on Connor. Look at 78,000 now. That is a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. Now, I'm not sure who I should attack with Carol. I have got attack versus tough, apparently. He is half HP, but he is probably a lot more tanky than the other boy. 46k. I mean, they're actually exactly the same. So it's better off trying to soften this guy up a little bit, maybe. Just do a little bit of damage, and then we'll just. Has he got defense while stunned? He does not. So as long as I take him out, we should be able to maybe cleanse some stuff. We do. So I think I had someone who was controlling a little bit, and we'll control you, madam, down here. Mirabelle against Mirabelle. And now the follow-up damage should be good. Now this is only turn 2. This is only turn 2. So we can obviously just get some extra damage off. Execution, her special skill. Didn't talk about it too much, but it is nice. It will work with her rush. It will work with her signature move. So that is actually pretty cool. And I think that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. We are going to just hit auto from here. And it will be cleaned up. We'll get some rushes up, but look, the Guardian Shields from Mirabelle. So as you could see, Lori's damage output can be very nice, and I have not used it that much. So you could see I was trying to think of what I had to do next. Once you get used to a team, I've started playing with my Lydia attack team a lot. It's very, very second nature. You're just going to be, exactly who to target first. Everything to do. Once you've got into the sort of swing of things with Lori, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. The defense down works so nice with other characters. You just got to make sure, really damn sure that your Carol's got a lot of damage too. Because as you saw, the difference between my Carol, who is not well modded, I don't even think she's maxed at the moment, and my Lori was huge. Like, Lori is completely maxed, hitting characters for 80k on crits on her signature move. That's just a signature move. That's only, a 200% hit. It's not crazy, but somehow it is crazy. Somehow it is. It's just all the extra 40% here. 45% on her weapon, 40% against strong, 40% against tough on her mods, It's all going to count. It's all going to count. And Lori can be really good. And I think she's also extremely good for game modes like arenas. Because she has a first turn signature move, she can take characters out. You can team her up with other characters where she'll give defense down. And if you've got a command and you can get things off first turn, you've got more chance of scoring, as well as possible that way. So I'm very happy to pick her up as a Limit Break 2 character. Do tell me how you're planning to build her. Are you planning to build her against any particular team? You're going to try and make that every team build? One of the hardest things to do with damage dealers is just make him a damage dealer that can go up against any team. It's very, very hard. But do give me any thoughts and plans and ideas on Lori in the comments down below, guys. That is the end of my starter guide. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.